So people should drop questions. Anyway, I'm on air already. Good afternoon, happy Sunday to everybody, whether you're in America, in Cameroon, everywhere. It's just me, Gilly. I'm in the show today with somebody fantastic. Somebody already promised to bring him on air, Mr. Ellie Smith. He's been fighting our cause for so long. Many people follow him on Twitter, on Facebook, depending which social media you're interested in. So I have Mr. Smith today. Mr. Smith, welcome to the Gilly show. I'm surprised you didn't know. You don't know about me, but I know about you. So welcome and happy Sunday to you.
It is a pleasure for having invited me on your show.
Okay. So today we're talking everything Cameroon and the struggle and everything that is going on in Cameroon. Yes. I just want you, being in Cameroon, to give us a brief description of everything that you know that's happened in the last, let's say, a year, from November when the lawyers started up till today. That there was killing in Kwakwa last night or is it yesterday? Just a brief summary of everything, in your opinion, that's happened.
In my opinion, I have always said the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon is cyclical. You have the cases of 1992 and I think something in 1984 like that. And this time around, the most ferocious one is what is going on that began first just like a professional demand from teachers and lawyers that has morphed into the nationalistic stance it is having today. And since then, there have been a lot of killings. Mostly, we have to be objective. Those who began the killings are the government. It is not the other way around. And it has now gone to where it is today, whereby the moderate voices on both sides have been extinct, and the extremists have taken over with some justification. Talking about the Anglophone nationalism is that I have said it on all media platforms that have been invited. The problem is the English-speaking Cameroonians from southern Cameroon were hoodwinked into this union. And the government of the Republic of Cameroon has never bothered to try to correct the historic wrongs. And that's the reason why we are in what we are today, that has culminated in the massacre that took place at Kwakwa in the southwest region of Cameroon.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to start, before we go into this interview, while we build up the audience, I'll just tell the audience that any question you have for Mr. Smith, please drop it on Facebook. I will ask him the questions at the end. So if you have any questions, please do drop it down the on SCBC Live on Facebook. I want to ask you, starting first, of your safety. How safe are you saying all of this in Cameroon? Because if I draw from our president or the interim president of Southern Cameroon right now, for just standing for their rights, they've been abducted or kidnapped, whatever you choose to call it. And going back now, a year back, in January, Bala and Fontaine, they came out to say same thing, just asking for their rights. They were also thrown in prison. How come you've been able to survive this year, saying all the things you say in the same dungeon that we're all scared of?
No, I am because I want to remain objective, and whatever thing I say, I have said it that the founding constitution of modern Cameroon, because modern Cameroon was created in 1961 after unification of the Republic of East Cameroon and Southern Cameroon. It was a federal constitution which said that no alteration should be done to this union. And everything I've been saying, I've been doing that in all professionalism, and I think I am safe. I'm not saying it in kind of sarcasm. I think I'm safe because what I say, I'm not afraid of anything whatsoever, because I know I stand for the truth. And I also think it is always good to defend those who are weak. And that's what I'm doing professionally. You don't have to, because as a journalist, you have to be objective, but you don't have to be neutral.
Okay. I know you've been objective, clearly from all your write-ups. You don't have to tell us. Everyone knows, especially in our community. But we don't get the same from the other news outlets in Cameroon or even abroad. To be quite honest, I'm really shocked at this, that even Western media kind of ignore us and they've sidelined us for some reason. And real people are dying. This is a real situation. It's no longer fiction. It's not in the books. What is it that is making you talk and the rest in Cameroon can't talk? And why is it that international media that are not under any pressure whatsoever, they're being slow talking about this?
No, there are many people who are talking. There are many. Perhaps they don't have the luck to know how to put out their position as I am doing. Mm-hmm. Now, to the discharge of our own media in Cameroon is that we are relatively we are not free. We are not free. The most media houses in Cameroon have this sledgehammer of the government dangling over their heads. As I have always said it, in Cameroon, the press have two enemies: the government first, and then the proprietors of private independent media in Cameroon. The second are a group of selfish, venal people. Because how can you imagine you work for a media house and stay for between 6 and 2 years without getting paid? And that makes our journalists vulnerable to corruption of the state. And the part of the state is that sometimes the government is strong and hard at imposing other companies to respect labor laws. How come that they don't do that when it comes to the press? They simply do it simply because they want at a certain point in time, they should be able to command the press. That's what is happening today. But there are some very courageous journalists in this country. And another factor that we have is the bicultural heritage of our country. English-speaking journalists tend to be much more independent and a kind of objective. By contrast, some, I will not say all, because saying all means I'm not honest, some French-speaking journalists, to their discharge, because you always need to understand people, have this nostalgia of the Grand Cameroon created by the Germans between 1884, 85, and 1916 when they lost Cameroon. To them, they think reporting objectively is trying to put some fonder into what is going on, or put fuel in the tank of those they call secessionists or restorationists. But the reality is that they are making a big mistake. All those people who are trying to hide the truth or trying to doctor the truth instead are helping to drive the wedge between people of Southern Cameroon and people of East Cameroon. The good thing is to be objective, and we have not invented the wheel. I'll give you just one example before going off. You saw during the Vietnam War, at the beginning, some American journalists were trying to toe the line of the government. But later on, they quickly discovered that it is good to be objective. And when they were objective, it quickly put an end to the Vietnam War and also helped to even bring down a president called Mr. Nixon.
Okay. So in all of this, you have been so vocal about your views. You've tried to be objective. You're not biased in your thinking. You want at least a Cameroon where everybody feels like they belong. And we Southern Cameroonians, we've never belonged, and we still feel like we don't belong because the statistics are there in terms of political positions and everything. Why is it that you are seeing it, but the general Francophone population are very complacent about it? They are not seeing it. They are not saying anything. They're not coming to support us. Rather, when they burn a flag that doesn't signify anything, all of a sudden they're talking. Le drapeau everywhere. Le drapeau. Why is the flag so important than human life?
Okay, I'll come back again. I think the problem with the Francophones is that some of them are emotive. Some of them have this nostalgia of Grand Cameroon. And, well, it's not as if they are not interesting or they are not touched. Most of them are. But the other thing is that most of them are offsprings, are children of people who come from the Greater Bassa lands or Bamileke lands of Cameroon, who were victims of the brutality of the regime of Amadou Ahidjo and also of the French. I think that's the reason why some of them are scared. But the final part in it is that, as I've always said, is that most of them are venal. Some of them like pleasure, and they are afraid that what is going on might stop them from resorting to what they like best. But I think it is going to be dishonest on our part to think that all French-speaking Cameroonians don't share, don't sympathize. The problem is that they don't have the courage that Anglophones have to stand up for their rights.
So if we say they don't have the courage, what are we putting as what is stopping them? Is it the education that they've received, or is it the comfort, like you said, that they want, or they've believed in corruption for so long that it's become normal? Because once you tell yourself a lie too many times, it becomes your truth. Is it because they've lived in a system where nothing changes for so long that they believe that if you say anything, you might be extinct, or you might be killed? That we've all resorted to staying quiet. But how does it help the situation, do you think? Are we Anglophone, are we just allowed to just stay quiet and allow this continue?
No. It is going to be it's tantamount to suicide if the Anglophones close their mouth. No, the Anglophones should stand up tall and defend their rights as they have been doing. They have done that since 56 years or 57 years, if my calculations are correct. As for our Francophone compatriots, the thing is that they have a culture like that in Central or West, Equatorial West Africa. I saw that in Congo, Brazzaville as well, in Gabon. The only exception being the DRC, is that we have a people who are somehow resigned, who have a culture of pleasure, who think that we should surrender everything to God. But they forget to understand that if you don't help yourself, heaven will not help you. But I also think that Anglophones should try to be a kind of didactic in the way they are doing, trying to, as you are doing already, trying to show them that what is happening is not only going to happen to us, it will certainly happen to them. That looking the other way will not help them. It is going to be how this Jamaican musician sang that he who fights and run away lives to fight another day. You see, so the thing is, I think the English-speaking Cameroonians should stand firm, defend what they are defending legally, and at the end of the day, I think justice will fall their way.
Justice falling our way. We've come to the point where we declared our independence on the 1st of October. On the 22nd of September, we had something like a Takumbans, and few people were killed. On the 1st, people were killed, and people still get killed up till now. How does this solve this problem where the government has said they are instituting dialogue, there'll be continuous dialogue? Do you believe in this dialogue that the government have been saying that they've sent the Mosonges and the rest to come to the Southwest and dialogue with us? Do you think they're actually genuine in this dialogue?
First of all, there hasn't been any dialogue. It's a lie. If the government says there's dialogue, is lying. And the second thing is that Philemon Yang, Atanganji, Tabetando, Victor Mengot, the other person you named, the former prime minister, they are not genuine representatives of Anglophone Cameroon anymore. And the simple reason is that most of them got to where they are not because of the support of the people. They were designated by one man, Paul Biya. I think that my last posting said it. We should be preparing ourselves on both sides of the linguistic divide for major concession, which means that come what may, we are going to have sincere dialogue at one point in time. There is no way the Cameroonian army, as I've said it, some people take me for being pro-secessionist or whatever. There is no way the Cameroonian army can defeat a movement which is not superficial, which is ingrained in the minds of many people. The other day I was at Bonaberi and I saw one boy, I think he was about 8 years old. I don't know what happened, and I asked him, where are you from? He told me I'm from Ambazonia. I was shocked. I said, what? Ambazonia? He said, yes. And then the other thing was that he sings the Ambazonian national anthem. I felt bad. And I said to myself, okay, this is what I've been telling people, that you cannot use military might to defeat these people. At the end of the day, there is going to be a dialogue and a sincere dialogue. Yeah. And it has happened all in other parts of the world. I can give you one example, just one. In New Caledonia, there was one man called Jean-Marie Tjibaou. Jean-Marie Tjibaou was killed, I think, in 1985 or 86 by French gendarmes because Jean-Marie Tjibaou was the head of a secessionist movement of the Kanak. But at the end of the day, negotiations has happened, the Paris Accord, and a referendum will be organized for the people of New Caledonia to decide whether they want to remain a French dependency or become an independent country in the South, in the Pacific Ocean. So genuine dialogue is going to take place. And I think that those who are going to be part of the dialogue will either be on one side, those who present themselves to be the interim government, and then the government of the Republic of Cameroon, and concessions are going to be, concessions will come out. So dialogue, sincere dialogue, not this thing that people go around, like what Mengo did in Mount Fay. That is not, those are no negotiation. Negotiation means two people sit somewhere, and they say in English, you need two to tango. Exactly. We have not had people to dance. So until that happens, then can anybody who is honest will believe that he is a kind of negotiation.
On the line of dialogue, we've seen that the president on his 31st speech or New Year's speech tried to cajole us and say the economy was not going well, not linking it to the ghost towns that have been going on. Rather, he talked of fast-tracking decentralization. And today, on his page on Facebook, I read he said he is trying to fast-track. He's put a team to look at this decentralization to improve the regions. It will help improve the regions in Cameroon. Do you believe that? Because I think this decentralization has been proposed to us like 25 years ago. Why now? Do you believe it ever happening, or is this just one of the talk in the speech to keep us quiet?
No, personally, I have never believed in decentralization because I don't see why it has not been implemented 22 years ago. Yeah. Why would it be implemented right now? Okay. I also think on the other ground, I am not a kind of banners up for against decentralization. Is to see the content. But at this point in time, there is no reason to talk about decentralization. What has to be spoken at is sincere dialogue between both parties that have been fighting right now. Because how would the government be able to implement what they call decentralization? Two, what is in the content of that decentralization? Those are the questions that the government has to answer, and they have not answered. I think they are just trying to divert the attention of people. But the mistake they are doing is that whenever you talk about decentralization now, you instead anger people the more because people don't want to hear about decentralization. I think sincerely, I said it on STV, nobody wants to hear about decentralization in Anglophone Cameroon. But I also went one step further in saying that people don't want to hear about decentralization, that people who are for two-state federation have become a minority, is kind of superficial. If this government is sincere, what the government can do is to organize a referendum. Because if a referendum is organized, honestly speaking, it's going to put an end to all this squabbling. And it is not going to be the first country in the world to organize a referendum. We have cases of Eritrea, in Ethiopia and Eritrea. You have South Sudan, where you had to have two referenda, only one took place. You have the cases of Quebec in Canada, and you have the case of Scotland in the United Kingdom. So I think that is the question now.
Why is the government so scared to have a roundtable discussion with us? Because this has lasted a year and they've been dancing around the table. This thing is simple. We've asked for dialogue from day one. Even from the time where Agbobala and Fontem came and said federation, they were asking for dialogue. Even though we've moved past that and said we want to restore, we've never removed dialogue on the table. Why are they so scared to talk about the issues of Cameroon?
Well, I will refer you to one famous person called Alexis de Tocqueville. He
Okay.
said something which is what is happening today. You know, most often the period of dialogue is the most difficult part for any government because the government is afraid because when the government appears as though she is weak,
Okay.
the opposition start demanding more.
Okay.
And within the government, there are also some elements or some individuals who are afraid that if there is dialogue today, they are going to lose their privileges. And that's the reason why I think the government has not been able to really come on the negotiating table or to install a true dialogue. But I still think that they will because this thing is going already out of hand. No one never knew that Kwakwa in Bonge subdivision will become what she has become.
Mhm.
No one never knew that the cities of Boya or Kumba are within the reach of people that call themselves Amazonian tigers or Eumijok freedom fighters.
Yeah.
And if the government is sincere
Mhm.
and if Paul Biya doesn't want to become second Mobutu
Yeah.
or a Nimeri,
Mhm.
he will have to go on a negotiating table and not leave behind him a legacy as the person who inherited a united country, then left it disunited.
Oh, so talking about federation or talking about a referendum, do you believe that we can actually have a fair referendum in Cameroon? Because in the last week or two, we've had disturbing audios. People telling us how right now they've been arresting people. When they arrest you, they take your fingerprint, they take your ID card, they take your name. They started to compile Southern Cameroonian citizens, their names, and they're keeping them for future. How true is this? And can we believe, can we trust, even if the UN was to come today and say, this is a referendum for us, should we take it or should we say, no, we don't trust these people? There's no election that's ever been fair election. There's always been bylaw boxes coming from the backside. There are people that have always voted that don't exist. How do you believe that we can actually have a fair referendum in Cameroon? And how can we get that?
If a referendum wants to take place in Cameroon, there are some prerequisites. It has to be under the supervision of the United States, United Kingdom, France, Germany,
Mm-hmm.
China, Russia, and the United Nations itself. And the African Union. That's it. There are some prerequisites to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And now, on to the other question that you said, it appears if someone is arrested and supposedly from southern Cameroon,
Yeah.
the fingerprints are taken down, but I don't have that information.
Okay.
If I have it, I will say it. But I think you cannot use such a tactic to solve a problem.
Okay.
There is no magic wand. The only solution to all what is going on is for dialogue to be for dialogue to real genuine dialogue to take place. And in case it happens, we should all collectively be prepared that we are never going to have everything we want.
Yeah.
So the thing is, we can say whatever thing we wish to say right now until dialogue begins, until the government is sincerely willing to dialogue. That is only when those things can happen. And we have seen that when people like Aguabala,
Mm-hmm.
Montem, and the rest came up with genuine demands,
Yeah.
because you cannot accept that you are in West Cameroon, you are in a courthouse, one person comes there doesn't speak English and doesn't even speak the lingua franca of the region, which is Pidgin.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. It's also unacceptable that a person who has been in school for over 14 years studying in English, suddenly someone comes and is teaching him or her in French. Those are things that Fontem and Agobala wanted to correct, but the government was not willing. But I think now that the government thought that this thing was going to fizzle out as the days runs by, but they have discovered that on the contrary, it is gathering steam by day. So they will eventually come to the negotiating table.
coming to the negotiating table. We have conditions that we've given the government to meet before we come to the table. Someone like me, I've lived in Europe mainly my mature life. So I haven't really worked in Cameroon. I don't know anything more about Cameroon. Apart from that, I had up till secondary education in Cameroon. Since this started, I've added my voice to it. How safe is Cameroon? You're in Cameroon. Can I just walk into Douala right now and sit down and say, I'm back? This is my country. I was born here. Would they allow me in or would they not?
Well, I cannot talk for you or for others, but I am here in Cameroon. I am safe. I am also aware that there are some risks, but Cameroon is not Afghanistan, Cameroon is not Eritrea, and Cameroon is not North Korea. We have a lot of problems. I think that in this thing that we are doing, we should try to be very objective in what we are doing. We should not blow things out of proportion. It is true. It is true. Anglophones have been marginalized in this country. Yeah. It is true that there is a massacre going on in West Cameroon. They are killing people. You know, the example of that lady who was burned in her house, that grandmother who is 96 years old.
Oh, God.
We know all those things. But now the thing is, as a professional, what I try to do is that I try to be objective in what I'm doing. And when I'm giving my analysis, I try to be objective as well. But to your question, is Cameroon safe? I cannot answer 100% that yes, it is. But what I can only say is that Cameroon is not Afghanistan, or Cameroon is not Central African Republic. We move around, but we also know that people who try to be objective might be arrested one of these days or at any bend or turns. That's how it is.
Coming to being arrested, walking around, looking over your shoulder. Our interim presidents have been abducted or kidnapped. Do you see the hand of Cameroon in this?
Yes and no. First of all, he was not arrested in Cameroon. He was arrested in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And it is alleged, I don't have 100% proof about it. It is alleged that he was arrested because two groups one is called a Umajok Freedom Fighters, and the other is called WAS because it has been upgraded to Amber Tigers. It was called, before it upgraded itself, it was called Manu Tigers. And you have to understand that no country in the world, no country will accept that an armed movement should be established within its borders to destabilize a neighboring country.
Okay.
Second thing is that Nigeria in itself is undergoing a number of is dealt with a number of nationalistic groups, like the movement for the actualization of F.R.A, the fighters, the Udua Republic, whatever. So I think that that's the reason why they ran amok to arrest the leaders of the interim government of Southern Cameroon. If the government of Cameroon had a hand, it was a kind of opportunistic hand. Okay. But the mistake the government of Cameroon had was that they thought Nigeria was Congo, Gabon, or Central African Republic, or Chad, whereby they have little or no respect for international law. I said it, and I am repeating again. Nigeria is a major country, and Nigeria can play the role that India played on the side of Bangladesh if she so will, but Nigeria will not surrender the interim leader of Southern Cameroon to the government of Cameroon, simply because the government of Cameroon has not shown any basic regards for human rights. Why would a respectful country like Nigeria surrender people to them? Now, the people of Southern Cameroon who are there now, President Ayuk and his team, defend themselves against the accusation that they were sponsoring or supporting those groups that I have just mentioned.
Okay, speaking about that, they have, as of now, they have no proof to say these people were actually sponsoring the group. But that is for the law court to decide. But for me, my question is, why did it take them so long to actually announce to the public that these people are with us? If you have clear motive, you have all this evidence, you're sure that they're in it, maybe training some boys to go and fight Cameroon. Why not tell people I have them from day one? Why did it take them good 5, 7 days to actually make a first statement? To me, that is where I can see some discrepancies. For you, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that it was a kind of hot potatoes in the hands of the Nigerian government.
Mhm.
I don't want to believe in the kind of conspiracy theories. I think that the Nigerian government wanted first to ascertain the links allegedly existing between the interim government and those two other organizations I have named. That is the Manu Tigers and the Umojok Freedom Fighters.
Yeah.
On the other, and you know, the interim government of the Federal Republic of Southern Cameroon, they are considered as innocent until the court proves them wrong or finds them guilty. Taking that long, it does happen. I don't think it's exceptional. You know, when you arrest people of that scope, you have to take your time before making any statement whatsoever, because a statement can perhaps pour fuel into what is going on, or perhaps break the momentum completely. So I think if they have started talking, it's simply because perhaps they now have enough proof of what they seem to be charging them, but yet they are not guilty of anything until the courts in Nigeria or sitting at Abuja rules that they are.
So, on that point, how long do you see this happening? How long do you see them being exonerated or going through the court of law? Because we know that this thing at some point will progress to the courts, and the courts, they will always be adjourn and adjourn. We don't want a case that is like Agbobala and a remix or history repeating itself of Agbobala in Cameroon and then Seseko in Nigeria, where this will take another 9 months. What do you think, or how long do you think this might take, so that we start to expect in our head, if we are planning, what is our route? Do we start putting another president in place? We need this. We're going this the 9 yard, and nothing is stopping us.
I think that it is going to be premature on my part to announce here that they are be freed or charged within 1 or 2 days or 1 week.
Yeah.
It is going to be a long, grueling procedure. But what I think, first of all, it is not the first time in Nigeria that people have been arrested and kept for more than 1 week before the police puts out statements. It has always happened. And then the other thing is that you have to understand the nature of the people who are in detention. They are not ordinary people. They are not you and I. So it's going to take time because it's a kind of very sensitive case. But if what happened with Namdi Kanu is any guide, I think that by the end of the day, the president of the Federal Republic of Southern Cameroon will be freed. But they will not be surrendered to the government of Cameroon, because no right-thinking government on earth will take people who are, let's say, in the frying pan right now, to put them in fire, because the way the government of Cameroon has been treating people, or the way some media professionals have been reacting, has fueled or instilled in many people fear that if the government of Cameroon wanted this to extradite them, or wanted them to be extradited, they will not be treated with any kind of regards. But I think they will, first of all, I think if everything goes well, Monday or Tuesday, they will be presented in court. Perhaps they will be presented in court, and then the procedures, the pleadings will start. But it is going to be wrong on my part to say, okay, it is not going to be as long and arduous as what Agobala, Fontem, and Co. experienced, or what the other 140 inmates I've experienced at the Yaoundé prisons, and the 300 who are in Boya. So I can't say because, first of all, Nigeria is not Cameroon.
Yeah. Okay, Nigeria not being Cameroon. Since they did their abduction, they've left family members behind. Is it right for somebody to be kept incommunicado from their families? And even the lawyers have been prevented to see them. Is it normal? Because I know maybe they will not allow their families, but they should be able to have a right to legal representation.
Yeah, it is not right. It's not right for them to be kept incommunicado as they have been, but it's not also an exception in Nigeria. But I also think that they have a lawyer, they have a team of lawyers. The lead counsel is Femi Falana, and Femi Falana has tried to meet with them. He hasn't succeeded, but the reassuring aspect of it is that they have told Femi Falana that they are doing fine, but I think at a point in time they will have to allow them to meet their lawyers.
Okay, since this whole incident happened, we'll be having a lot of mixed feelings. Some are saying we should protest in front of the embassy. Some are saying we shouldn't cause any problems. Some say we should attack Nigerians to teach them a lesson. Others say no, we shouldn't. Which one is right, in your opinion?
In my opinion, the only thing to do are the things that have started, hire a legal team. And the other thing is also good to make protests, because the protests will raise the awareness of Nigerians. And the Nigerians are a respected, responsible group of people. It's a proud country with whom we share a lot. And they have a strong independent press. They have a very strong civil society. And their judiciary, compared to us, is much more independent. So it's good to protest. Now, those who are calling for the attack on the Nigerians is absolutely wrong. Nigerians have been very, very welcoming to us. They are our brothers, and it is not because the government of Abuja commits an error that we should now turn to attack peaceful Nigerians who are sympathetic to the cause of the people of Southern Cameroon. And the other thing, if you have read the Vanguard, I think of which I've forgotten the day exactly, when the news that, I think when the head of the police or PR of the police made a press conference and talked about the detention of Southern Cameroonians in Nigeria, people were very angry. They said this is misplaced attention from the federal government. You have Meiti Allah, who is the head of the Fulani militia. He is not arrested, and they have killed a number of people in Taraba and Benue State. Nothing happened. Why the heck arrest people who are defending their own brothers who are being oppressed? But I think the best thing is to have the legal counsel that the Southern Cameroonians now have. Protest is a good thing, because protests will make the government of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria to ask their government some accountability.
Okay. If I want to be as optimistic as possible, seeing ourselves leaving Cameroon, once we depart from Cameroon, do you see a further divide in the rest of the Francophone region, like the Nordis, the Bulus, and the Betis? I know they're not all in good terms. Do you see a further fighting in case we were to leave? Or let's presume we're gone already.
The good or the bad thing is that in 2003 or 2004, if I go on my blog, I'll look at it. I had predicted long ago that Cameroon is going to fall apart, because it is the current president of Cameroon has the trappings of Mobutu Sese Seko. Now, say if West Cameroon leaves, I do hope I'm not going to anger a number of fanatics. It is not going to be an easy process to leave. Now, is it possible that the Cameroon should have a civil war along ethnic background on the east of the Mongo between, let's say, the guys of the Greater North, the guys of the South? Yes, that is possible, because this government has been perpetuating a kind of tribal hegemony. But I'm not very surprised, because if you have a government that brought into this country somebody called Sionex Bagasora, who was the ideologue of Hutu power and their militia called Interahamwe in 1994. You cannot be surprised that this sort of thing should happen. But if we are people who are humane, responsible, no one can wish a civil war to break out in Cameroon. What we have to do is that we have to encourage dialogue, peace, and stability on both sides. And if one day we want to divide, we can divide in peace. It's just like I used to say, like a marriage. It is not bound that you should be married to a man or a woman forever. If you have your wife who cheats on you, under the claim that you have children, you want to stay with her, you are going to be uncomfortable. If you have your husband who beats you up every day, cheats on you, and your mother tells you, no, stay with him because, well, you know, I've been with your father for 40 years and nothing happened. Do you know what was happening? No, I think we can part ways like what happened between Czechoslovakia, the Czechs and the Slovak, or what happened between Eritrea and Ethiopia in 1993, or what happened between South Sudan and the Republic of Sudan. I wrote something like that, and I'm sure Cameroon is not the only country that is going to divide. Nigeria is a potential for division, the Democratic Republic of the Congo as well. So it's not only a problem of Cameroon, but we need to work hard to avoid partition.
If you say we're not going to divide, a lot of people have already divided. Some people say they've already seceded. They're already in Boya.
Yes.
Yeah, we are just doing the process and protocols to meet them there. They're already there waiting in front of the Prime Minister's lodge. So to tell them that we are not going to divide is something that some people still have to relieve it. But the issue for me is Cameroon is not welcoming to the Southern Cameroonians. That for me is very clear. And it's not promoting any growth for anybody. What can we do to start to shift the mentalities of our next neighbor? We call them now, the people overside Mongo now, our next door neighbor. And before I come to that question, I want to throw the $1 million question that some people want to know. That Mr. Smith, where are you from? Not that is important, but so we use it to help our cause of discussion. Where is your origin? Are you from Ambazonia, the Southern Cameroon, or are you from over the Mongo? No, any disrespect.
No, there's no problem of any disrespect. I understand people have that right to be asking that question, where am I from? But before that, let me make abundantly clear. I have always been someone who stands for people who are weak. I've done that for Congo for the Congolese about 4 years, and I'm still doing that, especially for the people of the Pool region in the Republic of Congo, who since the 4th of April 2016, they are being bombed and killed, raped every day by the Nisasungeso. But to that question, I am from Ambazonia. I don't, it is not because I am from Ambazonia that I have to be defending them tooth and nail. I am doing that as a human being because no right-thinking human being will be comfortable to see the other person being humiliated as they are doing, as I see what is going on today. And I am objective. And there's a point of correction that I want to make right away. I did not say that there is no possibility of division. There is.
Okay.
There is. There is. Even mentally today, people are already divided. But I said it's not going to be an easy ride. Okay. It is going to be a gradual process. And the groundwork for division is simply because we have a government that is incompetent, corrupt, and then genocidal in the way they are reacting.
Okay, if you wanted to tell us, now we're moving towards the end, what is it that you can say for sure that we've gained in the last year or a year and 2 months that we started this? What can you put your hand and say, what are the achievements that Ambazonians or Southern Cameroonians have achieved being resisting this demonic government?
Well, what they have achieved, I know there's a rallying cry. I hear we are winning. Okay, the thing I think they have achieved is, first of all, which is formidable and which is inimical to the unity of this country, is that they have succeeded in instilling in the people of West Cameroon a spirit of a nation, and that is something that I think is one of the greatest achievements of this nationalistic movement right now. Even those people who were claiming to be federalists, I say anybody who says today that he is a federalist is an independentist in disguise. That is the major achievement. But beyond that, what is not being reported enough are the desolations, the economic destruction, the social destruction that this movement has created. The other day, a lady came from Victoria that he came here to see me that she's looking for a job. Prior to that, she was running a beauty salon in Victoria, and now the economy is down. The other day, somebody wrote to me and saying that you always say we are winning, but today I don't have anything and people are dying. I think the only achievement I think, which is not a one to be minimized, is that the Anglophone nationalist movement has gone one notch upper, and mentally, I don't think there is. It is going to be very difficult. I think only maybe Ayuk Tabe can change that. It is going to be very difficult today to tell people to come back to what they were before a year ago. People are really disappointed into this union, especially what is happening. The killings that took place on the 22nd of September, 1st of October, and now what is taking place in Manu Division and part of Meme Division is really atrocious.
Okay, talking about that, what can you say these big organizations that we all depend on for them to give us guide, like the AU, the UN, do you see them actually doing anything? Because people have really lost faith in them, especially in terms of the killing is not reported. People feel like they are not doing anything. Are they doing anything in your opinion? And what are these things that they're doing? Because we can't see them anywhere.
Well, the African Union, forget them. It's very difficult for the African Union to do anything because, first of all, it's a hideout of dictators. They almost always have this kind of esprit de corps. But the United Nations is kind of slow. It's very slow, but they are denouncing it, but not as hard as we would have wanted them to do. And that's the reason why it is important for Southern Cameroonians to be militant. Those demonstrations staged in Washington, D.C., Paris, and Brussels are very important to raise the awareness of the international community. But you have to understand that it is not the only case around the world. You have the Rohingya people who are suffering from major genocide taking place in Burma. You have the cases of the full region in the Republic of Congo that they have been killed since the 4th of April 2016, and the United Nations has been lukewarm. You have the cases of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. You have the cases of South Sudan. So you have to understand that the world has a full hand of crisis going around. But now it is left upon the people of Southern Cameroon to know how to articulate their case and to make people and to make the world, the eyes of the world, to tilt toward their direction.
So if you're saying we have to do the work to make them tilt towards our direction, is these killings not being enough? And if it's not enough, are they telling us? Because people have reached that point where they're thinking, if these people are not going to do anything, we should rather defend ourselves. And everybody is saying we go for the AK. AK has become now the new topic of the day. Do you support us to defend ourselves? Because it's come to the point where our people are being slaughtered in our streets, and we cannot sit back anymore and watch. Even the uprisings are coming up. Even the government does not even have to lift a finger now. The boys are doing it themselves. Is this a good strategy, or is it counterproductive for us?
It is counterproductive to be violent. Violence begets violence. And if today those groups of self-defense are doing what they are doing, it's simply because the government had a very heavy hand, or still has a very heavy hand. But I think that the Southern Cameroonians should continue what they have been doing, the path to peaceful demonstration. Using the guns will invariably attract other bigger guns. And those people who are going to suffer, the ordinary people like that lady who was unable to leave her house and she was burned. There's another story of a man, I'm going to bring it. Yeah. When they wanted to touch his house, the army asked him to come out. If you don't come out, we are going to burn you in that house. Fortunately, that old man had the strength to walk out and the house was burned down. But this old woman did not. But I think that violence is not a good thing. And I also understand that people are defending themselves simply because they can't withstand the level of violence that has been going on. Go to Kembong and see what has happened. Go to O2 and see what has happened, O2 village. And even so, it is kind of atrocious. But I, for one, I would not, under any circumstances, encourage violence.
Okay, what option do we have? Because we're at the point of recommendations. What option do we have? Because in this situation, we started with dialogue. The peaceful means it's not working. We've moved past dialogue. We've come to the point where we said, okay, some are still saying federation. Some are saying he's talking about decentralization. He's promised us heaven and earth. And we've reached a point where we are fed up. We don't want no promises. If you're not going to sit on the table and give us real promise, things that are tangible, that we can feel and touch, then we are going to fight. And people have reached the point where we've been killed, they're fighting. You say you don't want violence. What option do we have in this?
The options that we have are options that they've been using for 2 years now. This non-violent protests. I've told people that once the president of the interim government of Southern Cameroon gives out an instruction, or their minister of communication, about ghost town, it paralyzes the country and it sends a message. So I think that peaceful demonstrations are going to help. And in the world, all radicals have always failed. Only people who opt for a middle line turn out successful. And that's the reason why I think in the writing, the posting, I said that we should not deceive ourselves. There's going to be negotiation, and negotiation means that concessions are going to be made.
So if you want to believe that concessions are going to be made, we're betting on you and believing on hoping and optimistic and hope that something will come. Even though
can you give me a minute? Let me open the door. Somebody's there. Can you give me just a minute? Just a minute.
Yes, please take a minute. So for me, is let's hope and pray and hope for the best. Somebody, I want to answer one of the questions. Mba Fokwa has been asking this question. I think he's repeated the question over and over. He said, don't you think the arrest of the interim leaders in Nigeria has to do with the forthcoming election in the Republic of Cameroon?
Well, it is kind of difficult to answer that question. I don't think it has to do anything with the election. First of all, I doubt whether elections are going to take place in Cameroon. Okay. Because how will elections take place in the southwest and northwest region at this point in time? It's very difficult. And so I think that it has no connection. I think it is related to what I said initially, the arrest of people allegedly belonging to two militia groups. Those are the Manu Tigers and the Major Freedom Fighters. Manu Tigers has now been upgraded to Amber Tigers, something like that. I don't think it has any connection to do with elections in Cameroon.
Okay. People can drop their questions. I've heard that they've given me an extra 30 minutes because of you. You see, you're beginning to be a star.
No, I'm not a star. I'm just an ordinary Cameroonian.
We don't do stars when people are dying. Okay. Talking about this struggle, I'm going to take questions. Please drop your questions on Facebook and then we will read. Somebody says, how come you're saying that we shouldn't do violence when the government has declared war on us?
Good, I understand. Let me give you a personal example. Personally,
Yeah.
when I was working in Congo, I was expelled. Before being expelled from Congo, my younger sister was gang raped in front of me. And I felt very, 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 very bad. But then I also thought one day that if I continue harboring the anger that I have toward the people who did, because I know the person who orchestrated it, his name is called General Jean-Francois Ndengue.
Okay.
Then I said to myself, it will be of no good to wish him anything bad. I think in life we must learn how to forgive. We must learn how to make concessions. Violence will never solve any problem. Look at a great person such as Nelson Mandela. When Nelson Mandela came out of prison, that gentleman has undergone the worst. But at the point when people were expecting him to resort to revenge, he asked for reconciliation. It is true. They are massacring Anglophones every day. They are arresting them. They are sacking them from their work. I am not working because the Prime Minister, the Minister of Justice asked that I should be sent away, and I was sent away. But I harbor no harm, no grudges, and I think that is not the best thing. Violence will never solve any problem.
Okay. I think somebody's talking about your work. Somebody asked the question here. Is Don Dinga said, Ellie, were you terminated at STV? And if so, why?
At Canal 2 International.
Okay.
Canal 2 International, I terminated because the owner of Canal 2 International, you can call him, his name is Emmanuel Chachwi. He was under immense pressure. He told us on the 29th of August in front of Divine Tarike, the other guy, Kejang Henry, and the other persons that the Prime Minister, the Minister of Justice, don't want me to work there anymore. They want me to come and apologize in Yaoundé for what I have not done. Because I told them that I have to report and talk objectively. Yeah. So that's the reason why I left Canal 2, because I told them that, well, I will not come here and say everything is working whereas things are not working. So that was why I left.
And then Everest freshly asked the question, peaceful protest to when? Till we all are wiped out? Is that what you're saying?
We are never going to be wiped out for peaceful protests. We have a lot of examples. India became what she is because of the peaceful protests of Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay.
South Africa's exceptional reconciliation happened because of Nelson Mandela. Martin Luther King achieved what he achieved for the black people in the United States because he was for peaceful protest.
Yeah.
Once again, those who are opting for violence, I can understand them very well, but I will not support them. I think peaceful protest is the best way.
Okay. Kem Bobe said, I am a non-violent activist. Unfortunately, the enemies view this as a weakness. So people think that us not doing anything is a weakness. Do you believe in that?
No, I don't believe that. You know, the fact that you are meek doesn't mean that you are weak. Okay. We have the moral upper ground. We have the moral upper hand in this fight. If we turn to constitute a kind of militia group to defend ourselves militarily, then the enemy is going to justify her violence as she has always been doing. It is true, people are being humiliated, people are being killed. But you see, for example, what Agbobala is doing in the southwest in Boya called task force. They are helping to free a number of Anglophones who are detained at the Boya prison, 300. There were even 600. There were, I think, there are about 200 at the Bafia prisons after Muyuka. So once again, the only remedy is peaceful protest.
Okay, Mr. Vitalis asked the question, where is our president? That is Mr. Tseko Ayoktabil. Which prison are they in Nigeria?
Well, I can't say specifically. I do understand from feelers that they were first held at the DSS in Abuja. It appears, again, if I'm not wrong, according to the Vanguard newspaper, they have been transferred to the police force headquarters, still in Abuja.
Okay. Mr. Mario Zagallo say, Mr. Ellie, now that the Bia military has been killing our people, burning houses, if we sit quiet, will the UN come?
Already, we can't sit quiet. Sitting quiet means that we don't say anything. Already, when we are reporting, as we are doing, we are tweeting, it raises the awareness of the international community and the UN. I can assure you that the international community has seen what is going on. And I don't think they're going to fold their arms because nobody wants another rounds of instabilities in the sub-region. We have the cases of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We have the problem in the Central African Republic, and nobody wants to see a Cameroon being destabilized.
Okay. Mr. Eulos Otis said, Mr. Smith, do you think Ambazonians will ever expect to stay with our republic again after Biya declare war on us?
Everything is possible in life. First of all, if a genuine negotiation starts, when both parties start talking, many things can happen. The only mistake this government has done is that they don't know how to do crisis management. Okay. So there are a number of things they would have done that would have appeased people. But I think that all options are on the table.
All options are on the table. Okay, that's good. I have another question from Mr. El Niza. He said, Mr. Smith, apart from the protests, what can we do to hasten the UN's intervention? I mean, real intervention.
The real intervention, first of all, you have to understand, as I said at a certain point in time, that the world has a full hand in terms of crisis. But what we could do is that if people protest every day in front of a total bay, that's the UN, and people go to major media houses like Fox News, CNN, BBC, I think the United Nations will be forced to have an eye on what is going on. And if our media men and women are able to report objectively about what is happening, you know, in journalism, it is simple, and even in the world, when it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. What happened at Kwakwa, where you have a 96-year-old woman being burned, is enough to raise the awareness of the international community.
Okay, Mr. Yusef Paul asked, I want to know why can't you join the SCBC team and help them?
Well, I have never been called to join the SCBC team. If they do call me, I will willingly do it. There's no problem. And I will do things as I always like to do. I like to be objective and say things as they are. If it is not going to be a kind of duplicate of CRTV.
We are not CRTV. Apparently, they've been picking cues from us, I heard these days. Okay. Anyway, I'll be taking more questions. Everybody is kind of talking about this AK.
Okay, people, yeah, you know.
It says, please stop comparing La Republique to other countries. Didn't you see what happened on October 1st? So the killings. People are saying that we can't just sit quiet and wait. Our brothers are killed on a daily basis.
I understand, as I told you, but the little advantage I think I have over others is simply because I have had a lot of experience moving around. I have seen atrocities in Central African Republic, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, in the Republic of Congo as well. I think at a certain point in time, I've reminded you here about what is going on in the full region of the Republic of Congo since the 4th of April 2016. It is also atrocious. The difference is that in the Republic of Congo, in the full region, you have a rebel leader called Pastor Ntumi, who has decided to have a militia and have an armed group fighting against the government. But you have what is happening today, which means that the government is also trying to use more firepower, and you have about 80,000 people who have been displaced, and the United Nations has been forced to come to help the people of the poor region who have been killed. So I think I understand very well why people talk about AK, but I, for one, I repeat, I will never, ever encourage somebody to resort to armed struggle or violence. And again, in life, we have a lot of examples that those who are extremists never win. But those who are moderate are the ones who win, even though it takes a very long time to happen.
Okay, Mr. Tonton Bakala asked a question: which among all the political crises in Africa is the most popular right now?
The most popular one, if I'm not wrong, are the crises taking place in South Sudan.
Okay.
And then you have the numerous crises taking place in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. But the problem of the Democratic Republic of the Congo is that they have been having series of crises since 1960.
Okay.
23,000 UN forces in the DRC today, trying to maintain a semblance of peace and a semblance of stability and unity.
Mr. Ernest Atem is asking, why are the international and mega media outlets not reporting on our situation like they do to other crises in the world?
Well, the problem is that our country, our sub-region, doesn't have the necessary attractions as others. We don't have the powerful media tends to minimize what is happening. But the good thing is that the social media is taking a relay. You know, when you tweet, you put it on Facebook, you don't know where it goes to.
Yeah.
But with time, the international media is going to be interested. I don't just want to let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
One major broadcaster is already planning something big on what is going on in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon, or otherwise known as Southern Cameroon. So gradually, the interest is building up.
Okay. Mr. Hilton D say, what is your take on the recent tweet from Pobia on decentralization after 21 years? It was passed into law.
First of all, you were the one who informed me that F.R.A. has tweeted. And I'm very surprised that he tweets at all. My problem is that why would a serious government be unable to apply its own law for 22 years now? It is not going to work. At this point in time, I think what is necessary is, first of all, dialogue to put an end to what is going on. Then we can now see the content of that decentralization. Because we should not just reject decentralization without seeing it. See what is inside first. And now say, I don't want this, I don't want that. Because at this point in time, the government has lost the leverage of being able to say, this is what we want.
Yeah.
The government now needs to be humble enough to sit down on the table and dialogue and say, okay, perhaps you want federalism. I'm not going to give you federalism. I am going to give you decentralization. Now, the question is going to be, what is in that decentralization? Does it mean that the Southern Cameroons will have a regional assembly in Boya, whereby they control the judiciary, the health and educational system, and then Yaoundé takes care of the foreign and defense? That is the question.
Somebody is saying that, why is Biya so quiet in this matter?
I don't think he's quiet. I think he's overwhelmed. You have to understand that Biya is an old man, and he doesn't have the vigor of somebody who is 40 or 50 years old.
Okay. Mr. King Ade says, what is the role of African magic in the fight of independence in Africa? Can we, in combination with it, pursue the cause of African freedom?
African magic?
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't think, look, we have to be rational. African magic has never solved any problem. I understand, I have not seen myself, but I want to see it when one of those operations starts. I understand that one of those, I think it is a major freedom fighters or amber tigers can appear and disappear, but I have not seen it yet.
Mr. Mbaka Hamidu Adamu says, Mr. Smith, what will happen if Ambazonia move this fight across the Mongo and hit hard some key targets? Can this not force La République to the negotiation table?
Well, it is possible, but of what gain would that bring? it is instead going to exacerbate the problem. It is true that if it crosses over the Mongo into other parts of the Republic of Cameroon, it might force the government into negotiation, which means that perhaps the government is not being affected. But no, the government is affected because even in terms of resources, the resources of the government are dwindling. Remember, we are undergoing an acute economic crisis. Taking vital resources to invest into peace maintenance is kind of difficult for the government to undergo or to sustain.
Mr. Della Pina says, Mr. Smith, is La Republique saying anything about the 96-year-old woman burnt to ashes, or the community parrot minister has not sent the communication parrot? That is Sister Chiroma. They say, has he said anything about that woman and all the killings? To me, before you go into that question, it's very disrespectful for the president to sit quiet and people are being killed in your country. And you keep telling us that Cameroon is one and indivisible, but yet your people are being killed and you're saying nothing. So have you said anything?
Yes, the problem, he doesn't have the culture of saying anything. During the war the ongoing war against Boko Haram, can you imagine that he had never left A2D to go to the Yaoundé military hospital to greet those fallen soldiers or those who were wounded? John Frundi had to leave all the way from Bamenda to come. Idris Deby had to leave all the way from Jamena to come and greet those soldiers wounded at the Yaoundé military hospital. But Paul Biya hasn't done that.
Why
the president of Nigeria? Yes.
I think yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay. So I say, well, it is rather sad that the president of Cameroon has not sent out any words, no communique. It is sad, but he is like that. So I'm not very surprised.
Mr. is asking that what is your secret living in Cameroon without arrest, with all that you say, even against the government?
Simply because I work by the rule. Mr. Peter Isoka too said, when you say things with proofs, you are not going to be threatened. And everything that I say with truth. I began before this information about the lady burnt in her home went viral. I think I was the first person who reported about it because I have a network of people on the ground, and I went around there. So everything I say, I try to double check it before saying it. And I think that's the reason why nothing has ever happened to me yet. And nothing is going to happen.
Mr. Yulos Oti says, Mrs. Smith, we the Ambazonians have sworn or swear that our independence will be achieved no matter what. Do you think we will achieve this?
It is not going to be an immediate process. I'm sorry to say about it. I have to be objective. It is going to be a long process for independence to be achieved. That is the reason why it has to be gradual. We have to be able to know how to manage our constituencies before ever going further. It is a gradual process. I don't want to make people think what is not going to happen tomorrow. But nothing is impossible in this world.
Okay, Mr. Ajo Eugene Appam says, if our leaders are freed and banned from organizing any gathering, what happens to the struggle?
Well, I don't think if they are freed in Nigeria, I understand, but I don't think they have been banning gatherings, but gatherings have been taking place. The struggle is that people are fighting against injustices first, and people want to correct a historic wrong because they have been hoodwinked. The government of Yaoundé has not respected the 1961 Fumban Accord, and that's the reason why we have problems in Cameroon today. And the other thing we should not forget is about poor governance. When you have a government that is poorly run, inequitable, it is the reason why people are protesting today.
Mr. I'll be taking a few more questions, and when in the next 2 minutes we'll wrap up and then we conclude. And Mr. Tenola George is asking, Mr. Smith, to the best of my knowledge, you were part of the civil society members that met the Secretary General of Commonwealth in Boya. What actually was her mission to Boya?
No, I met her with Agwabala in Yaoundé. She came at the request of the government to look into the situation and try to mediate like the Commonwealth has to do to make some proposals. And then Agwabala masterfully presented what was going on. We met in Yaoundé, and then she went to Boya and met the others. So I think she came as the head of the largest organization in the world after the United Nations to see for herself, listen to the various actors on the ground, and try to see if they could participate or make some proposals for peace to reign in Cameroon, because Cameroon is one of the vital members of the Commonwealth.
Okay, I think I will take one more question. Mr. Nsalang Diodone say, do you see Mr. Biya still to be the president of La Republique for another term of office?
Well, I think he has plans to run again for re-elections. That is his desire, but if wishes were horses, then the poor will ride. So I don't know how he's going to win the elections, but I know he wants to run for elections again. And then, it's not going to be easy for him if he wants to run again.
Okay, one last question. People want to ask timelines. In this quest for us to get whatever that is put on the table for us to talk or to even get dialogue, when do you see this happening in terms of timeline or time scales?
It is difficult. I think now the problem is that it is the government that is hesitating. The government needs to decide that they want to negotiate. But I believe that they might be willing to negotiate right now, and perhaps the interlocutors might be the people of the interim government that are under arrest in Nigeria and other actors like Agobala, Fontem, Mr. Aya. They are people who can be people to be brought on the table for dialogue.
Okay. So if you were to be asked to come and join the government, because the government is growing, we're seeing new people coming up. It was first Agbobala, then it's now Siseko. It might be you tomorrow. Now it's Bobga. It can be you tomorrow. If we wanted to say you come and help us in this, would you be part of it? Question.
Help what? In which government are you talking about?
In the current government, we still have vacancies. There's still positions everywhere coming up. I can think of one right now.
Okay, but I have never been given any proposals anywhere, and I think journalists, I like to remain independent, to say things objectively, and I will continue being a journalist.
Oh, you love being a journalist. Oh God, so means no luck for us then. Okay.
I don't understand. Are you talking for the government of Southern Cameroon?
No, I'm just saying in case, because now we're seeing things are changing and things will evolve. This is a long haul, like you said. It's not something that will happen tomorrow. And we've seen over time that the movement have moved from hand to hand. And we're saying if tomorrow it was to move, I might not be here. You never know. And they say you should come. People should have this interview stays. And people might hold you tomorrow and say, oh, Mr. Smith said he will be available to help. Maybe we should reach out.
If it is to encourage dialogue, to avoid the atrocities going on in Manu Division and beyond, I am always ready to help if that is the objective. Because people being killed and the atrocities I saw at Kembong is something unbearable. So if there's any possibility that one can help, and if I could, I will not refuse.
Okay, so we'll be coming an end to this dialogue, to this whole interview. It's been fantastic having you. I never thought we'll have a great time. To me, I felt relaxed. I feel like we're on the right track. But Boya still remains our destination. We have to be clear on that, because me and you, we're on that path. Boya is my destination. So I'm not changing. Whether true, peaceful means, any means, to me, Boya is my destination. I want you to give a last final words to our viewers. not only to the Anglophones, but to the Francophones as well, because we need them in this. The country is as messed up for us as it is for them. So, a strong word for both of us, and your final take will be on the recommendation for us as a people, as a government, as people fighting for our rights in our own country, looking for self-determination. Give us recommendations that we could take from here.
Well, I think I just have about two things to say. First of all, we are all Cameroonians. We have differences, yes. And in a family, it is not because you are fighting with your brother or your sister means that he or she is no longer part of you. And the other thing to the interim government, to the Federal Republic of Southern Cameroon, is that it is good to make concessions. It's also good to make proposals. Concessions are good. You might have some objectives, but you might not necessarily have that objective, but you should be ready to make concessions.
Okay, so we should be ready to make so we should be ready to meet halfway. Because when you're coming to any dialogue, there should be a middle ground.
Of course, yes.
Where you can settle.
Of course. And I'm repeating, those who have lived, those who have succeeded are not extremists. Look at the world. Martin Luther King was not an extremist. Nelson Mandela was not one. Gandhi was not an extremist. Only people who are ready to forgive and make compromises for the good of the general or for the good of the majority are those who live for posterity.
And then lastly, these names that they keep calling us terrorists, I don't get it. Why, when you ask for anything in Cameroon, you're labeled a new name? Why are we called terrorists? Is it justifiable to call us terrorists?
No, it's not justifiable, but ignore that. In the history of Anglophone Cameroon, they have never had anything peacefully. The GCE board, democracy, and the University of Boya was achieved under the blood or with the blood of Anglophone Cameroonians. And it's not the first time that Anglophones have been called names. Remember Zachary Nyiman, who was the famous reporter for CRTV, said when the SDF started, they said they were singing the Nigerian national anthem, whereas it was the national anthem of Cameroon, but in English. So Anglophones are used to being calling names. So it is not important. Those things happen. But at the end of the day, if the IRA was able to talk with London, it means that the interim government will be able to talk with BIA and then come out with a result and a solution for the future of Cameroon.
So, last question. All the AU and all that have been saying dialogue, but it's not happening. What can they do to push the president to sit on the dialogue table with us?
You mean the AU or whatever?
The AU and the UN.
The other thing is that
the power that they can do to push them.
The power they can do is maybe economic sanctions and try to refuse to be selling them weapons. So now the thing is that we have to look at countries that are helping and selling weapons to the government of Cameroon, countries that are helping the government of Cameroon financially. And on the other hand, what the interim government of Southern Cameroon and the civil society in Anglophone Cameroon could do is that they can even go in front, one notch in front, and tell them that these are the people we want to talk or who will be representing us. Maybe it's Aya, Agobala, Fontaine, and then the interim government and people like John Fundi and all those. They can propose that this is our team of people we want to stand as negotiators for us, and then maybe the government of Cameroon will now also bring up theirs. Because I think perhaps the government of Cameroon has difficulties in looking or in finding whom to talk to. So I think the Anglophone community can do a kind of AAC 3 or 4 again, and then come out with some proposal. I think that's what Simon Munzo is trying to do. I don't know where he is with that project. And then we can now from there say, okay, these are the people who have to talk for us.
Okay.
People who have to talk for Anglophone should not be Philemon Yang, it should not be Mengot, it should not be Tabetando, it should not be Peter Mafani Musonge, because they are not representative. If they were elected people with the legitimacy of the people of their region, they would have been able to defend them tooth and nail. They are not doing so. It shows that they are not representative.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for everything.
It's a
I am
pleasure.
going to be concluding the show today. We're supposed to end at 7:30. I'm seeing some people saying that I've gone over my time. Yes, I apologize. I've gone over my time, but I was told from the back office that I have an extra 30 minutes because
Thank
the
you.
next show per se is late. So that's why I'm still here. So if you're bored of me, I'm going right now. Anyway, to conclude, it was a nice and a fantastic interview with you, Mr. Smith. Thank you very much for coming on my show. It was just a week. You're a darling. And anybody who wants you on their show, please get in touch with him. He's very resourceful, very open. And I think we need more people like you to come on board to talk to this struggle. And talking to my viewers out there, this is Mr. Smith's opinion. Because I've seen some people already protesting and saying that we should fight. Our people have been killed. We shouldn't stay quiet. The only language La Republic understands is the language of the gun. The first time the president ever came out to say anything was when they killed the soldiers in Manfi. But this has been going on for a year or more. They've never said anything. So they think people still believe that we should defend ourselves, but we remain our destination. This is Mr. Elise's own objective views. They don't represent the views of all of us. And please do not take it as one. It's an advice. It's up to us to take it or leave it. But like he said, violence beget violence. Are we ready? If we are ready, then let's do it. But all we know is we want to get to Buea. We want to stop this marginalization. If it takes the last thing, we want to instill in the other side of the Mongo. They've called us all sorts of names. I remember when I was in Cameroon, they called us Anglophone, all sorts of names. We are beginning to rebuild our brand. We are changing the way they see the Anglophones. And to me, that's very important. Identity has been a crisis for us all along. And clearly, we could see that in this year, we've built identity. We're speaking from the same place. We've understand ourselves. We've grown and we've learned. And we keep learning. We'll make mistakes and learn. But let's be open to learning. Let's be open to accept our mistakes. And let's hear other people's views. We are not right at all times. So this is a long haul. It's not going to end tomorrow, like he said. So it might not be me here tomorrow. It might be you. So all of this information is good for us to access information, read other words, because Mr. Smith is saying all this from experience or from reading from other people that have had similar situations like us. Let's not be blindsided. Let's not let our emotions carry us, because most times we act from emotions. Let's be objective in our thinking. Let's hear from other people. Let's be open-minded, but still be firm to say we want what we want, and that is our freedom. If it's going to take us 10 years, it's going to take us dialogue, it's going to take us maybe real federation. Nobody's talking federation. Some people say no federation. Some say no decentralization. However, let's look at the bigger picture, which is let's push for dialogue. Until dialogue happens, we're not getting anything. So if Mr. Smith's advice today, he's told us he's an Ambazonian. You can take that from him today. He said we should put a team of people and propose it to the government. To me, that's the highlight that I've taken from this interview today, because for me, I can, like he said, maybe the president or whoever wants to dialogue don't even know how to. Even though I know that if they really want to dialogue, they know how to. They're pretending. But let's help facilitate it for them. Let's not give them reason to say we wanted to and you guys never gave us the option. So we will try our best to come together to brainstorm to find best way possible to gain our freedom. In this, I'll conclude to say happy Sunday to everyone. Thank you for watching. It was a fantastic show. And thank you, Mr. Smith. Have a great day. And hopefully we'll be looking out for you, because we know after this show, we don't know what your security situation will be like. So people, watch out for Mr. Smith. Those in Cameroon, look out for him, because we know who we are dealing with. We don't have to call their names, but we know them. They only live by the swords. And those who live by the sword die by the sword. Thank you very much and have a happy Sunday. And goodbye. It was me again, Gilly.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Fellow Ambazonians, the sky is dark, but the future is as bright as it has ever been. Welcome to the Ambazonia Bulletin. I'm your regular host, Mr. Talk Talk, bringing you news of the restoration from around the world, both at home and abroad. The revolution we embarked upon had turned many phases, and it has spread like eternal gospel fire. Every Ambazonian can feel the fire of freedom burning, and Yaoundé can feel a different kind of heat too. So I ask that you stay in the fight and pour your full energies into the struggle. Compel them to testify on the Holy Bible that the hour of reckoning has come. Ambazonians, I ask that you pray for those who persecute you, but also that you send many Bibles so they too will close their eyes and find salvation in heaven. My dear Ambazonians, it has been a heartbreaking week since President Sisi coup and the leadership was abducted in Abuja. News of those events crippled many of us. But I submit to you that we can do no greater service than to stay in the fight and push forward while we await news of their presence and confirmation of their safe return. The lawyers have gone to work. Petitions have been dispatched. You have protested at Nigeria's embassies, and the international media has heard your loud cry. You have once again planted good seed, and good seed only bears good fruit. From the corn you sow, may harvest season produce an abundance of popcorn. But no good farmer stands in wait at his farm watching his crops as they grow. We toil patiently, and we work, and we wait, and we pray. That is what I am asking you all to do now. Oh, and as you must be aware by now, that fundraising is of capital importance, and the Global Ambazonia Freedom Fund is in full swing. The Treasury and the Secretary of State for Finance have called on all of you to open your wallets as widely as you have opened your hearts for this struggle. The website is shown here below, www.ambazoniafoundation.org. Now there, you will find 7 different platforms with which you can contribute for refugees, for legal support, and towards all initiatives to speed up full return to Bua. Many of you have probably received emails from the Treasury telling you what plans have been put in place by the Presidential Council to keep up the work of the interim government. I invite everyone, everywhere around the world, to do your part. Donate once, donate twice. President Ayub Tabe called for Operation $500. It is a challenge many of you can meet and exceed. I invite you to do so. I urge that you sign up for Citizenship Levy on www.ambagov.org. The logo shown here should be your guiding star, the Global Ambazonia Freedom Fund. Make your president proud. Make Ambazonia proud. Do your part and start now rebuilding a new nation. That, my fellow Ambazonians, is the takeaway message from me to you. A big shout out to all my homeboys in AU Mojak, Muyaka, Mankan, and Jakiri. As always, SCBC is your flagship station, and I am your host, Mr. Talk Talk. Oh, one last thing, Mr. Isachiraoma Yamami. You are watching SCBC, the Southern Cameroon's Broadcasting Corporation. Bye for now, and until next week.